should move this closer. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm moving my table closer. Good morning. Welcome back to Royal News Network, y'all, and our Saturday morning chats. I'm so excited y'all are here. Let me know in a second here if for any reason you can't hear me. I'm so excited for you guys to be here today. Good morning. So we have so many people already here. Catherine. Yes, no, you did not miss the chat. Guntinta. Thank you. PJ, Azima, good morning. Elijah, good morning. PJ, yes. Oh, talking about wind and rain and oh, that's fun. Oh, Cicely, Evelyn, good morning. Mary, good morning from Colorado. Ritz from Chicago. Oh, Janice, good morning from Germany. Yes. Guten Abend? That might be Dutch. Kristen, good morning. Mary. Happy from Singapore. Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Okay, so if you guys have a question or anything this morning, go ahead and put it in the chat. And if you want to put it in all caps, that would help me find it. And then I also wanted to say I'm super excited that the trip that I had planned to London will go officially live today. So if you guys want to join me in London, it'll go live at noon today, noon Eastern time. And I'm super stoked about it. I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh yes, there was some weather in the south. I forgot about that. That might be what y'all are talking about there. So some tornadoes and stuff. So I hope everybody is staying safe down there in the southern states, especially Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, where there were some big tornadoes. So that is always a bit scary. Although I will say one of the things I've always wanted to do is see a tornado from a very far distance. So that's just me. And Miss Pippa, my co-host here, she says good morning too. She just had her breakfast, so she should be a happy girl. She should be a happy girl. Yes. Okay, good morning. All right, yay. London, let me know. Yes. So the London trip, if you guys don't know, it's through Trova Trip. It's kind of a company that allows people who are kind of influencers or experts to lead trips in certain places around the world. So I created a trip to London. It'll be after the Coronation. It'll be over kind of Memorial Day weekend. And the nice thing about that is that hopefully we'll get to see all the Coronation regalia because it'll be in the Tower of London. And that will be a lot of fun. And I was hoping it would be like right before. So if somebody wanted to stay after and see the coronation, they could, but it wasn't ended up being the dates I thought it would be and that it was really rumored to be. And also if you are there in London during that time, I think the week after they may still be doing the Trooping the Color. So if you still want to see perhaps them on the balcony, that may be a possibility. But I don't want to say that for sure. I'm not sure. I haven't heard officially yet. So, okay. All right. Both dogs went on the couch. So we should be happy campers now. So, but getting back to the questions here, Stud Muffin, you asked, hey, Brittany, do you think the Harkles will be invited to the Christmas Day hosted by Kate? No. That is my short answer to that. No, I don't foresee, as far as we know, and as far as been reported, Harry and Meghan will not even be going and spending Christmas in Sandringham. They haven't for the past, it made sense in 2020, but now it's 2022. So they missed 2019. So they've missed last 1, 2, 3 Christmases. And I imagine this will still be the same. And if they're not coming to the UK for Christmas, I don't see why they would come earlier, just go to Catherine's concert. I hope we see a lot of the royals there because that was really great to see the whole younger generation come together. So it's basically all the Queen's grandchildren went to that Christmas service. And so I hope we see that, something like that again. But Harry and Meghan, no, I don't think so. And I thought it was interesting, and then we'll move on to something else. That I listened to the interview with Christopher Anderson. He's done a lot of royal books, and Megyn Kelly. And I was shocked at how little he knew. I was like, you just wrote a book about them, and you can't even explain them well. And he really thought that the royals would just bury the hatchet after the Queen died with Harry and Meghan, and they just welcome them back into the fold. I'm like, where have you been, dude? No. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, yeah, I don't foresee them coming. Nikki Millennium asked, do you believe Catherine's pregnant? Oh gosh, I wish she was, but I don't think she is. As I understand, William really was more into having 2 kids. Catherine really wanted 3, so they had 3, and I think they're done. They're done. And there's a lot of stress on them now because they are the Prince and Princess of Wales. So their lives have changed and their children's lives have changed quite a bit. I imagine that another baby, although the Queen had 2 when she was Queen, I think that would be to them probably more than they would want to do, especially right now because everything's changing so much with the Queen's death. Everybody's rethinking who people are, like where people fall within the line of succession, and well, not the line of succession, I should say. Everybody's trying to figure out how this new monarchy will look, and so Catherine and William are a huge part of it, and they have a lot of things to do, and so I don't really, unfortunately, foresee that happening. Although I almost said Cambridge again, but Wales's baby number 4 would be adorable. But I think they're done. Your other half of the question, do you believe Harry and Meghan are getting divorced as rumored? I did a whole video on this. I don't think they're getting divorced right now. Do I see them getting divorced future? Yes. I don't think that was great in English. Do I see them getting divorced in the future? Yes. I've said it before. I don't think they really have anything in common, except for now their children and the fact that they're stuck together in these business deals. Other than that, they have nothing in common. So I don't see them lasting long, and I see them at some point falling apart. I don't know when that will be. It will be after the coronation, though, because Meghan will really want to be at the coronation, and that helps sell their brand. And I don't think, unfortunately, Harry realizes how badly things are with his family and that he may never get the relationships he had back. I think it's somewhere in the delusion of his mind, he thinks, oh, they'll just forgive me and we'll just move on. And yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So I feel like he's living in the land of delusion and denial. So I do feel sorry for him that way. And Lord Merlin, thank you so much for the tip. That is incredible. Thank you so much. You are so kind. I really appreciate it. $100. Wow. So thank you so much. So much. I really enjoy doing these with you guys. I think these are so fun. And I love that we're able to kind of create this community where we can chat and always, if there's a pro Meghan person here, hey, unless they're spamming somebody, hey, that's totally fine for me. And so B group, can you tell us more details about the group tour you're planning? Yes. So this is from Kristen. So this group tour, it'll be a couple days. It'll be, I think, about four or 5 full days in the UK, at least 2.5 days in London, because usually if you're flying from the States, you arrive in the morning in London. So there will be a little bit of time during the day to do something. So the hotel, I looked it up, and it's right across the street from the British Museum. And the British Museum's free, and that's definitely worth going to. So maybe that first day, they don't have anything planned, but you can go ahead and do something. And then the next day, it will be a bit of a bike tour around London. And so you will go to Westminster Abbey and then Buckingham Palace, and I think there was one other thing, and I'm blanking on it right now. But it'll be a great opportunity to see London. I'm hoping we can go in Westminster Abbey. I'll see if we can figure out how to squeeze that in, because Westminster Abbey is definitely worth going into if we can. And then the next day they had the group, so they have a plan laid out, but you can amend it a bit. And I basically said for the second day that they usually have on the plan, you know what? none of that works for what we want to do. So it'll be a day where we go to the Tower of London, St. Paul's, and Kensington Palace. So the Tower of London and St. Paul's are close on the same side of town. So they're within a fair walking distance. I walked from the Tower of London to St. Paul's, and I want to say it took me about 20 minutes, maybe 30 at the most. It wasn't a far walk at all. I think if we needed to, we could jump on a tube station and just go like one stop over, and you're at St. Paul's. So I thought it would be fun to go to the Tower of London, tour it, go to St. Paul's and tour it, go to Kensington Palace, which is across town, and tour that. And since we're down in Kensington Palace, which is closer to like Harrods in the shopping district, I thought, well, maybe we can go shopping and go and out to dinner or something. Because I feel like it's not, they had stuff on, I think, in like the Whitechapel area and other parts of London. And I was like, no, we're a royal group. So ergo, we need to go to castles and palaces, guys, and churches. So those are my plans. That might be a little bit extra on top of it, but I just think those are so worth going. And it's they're a lot of fun, and I do have a membership there, and then hopefully I can work out and arrange, some sort of good discount and stuff too. So that's what I'm hoping. And then we go to the Cotswolds, and I've never been there, so I think that's fun. It's more picturesque, and I think that'll be fun to do. And there's like activity with like shooting, how they've seen they shoot the clay things up in the air and you shoot them, and so they have something like that. And I think it was archery too. So I just thought those would be kind of a fun, different activity, and then just a day in the Cotswolds and then heading home. And like I said, it's over Memorial Day weekend. It ends, I think, on the Tuesday afterwards. So people head home after that. And I'm pretty sure if they are sticking with the schedule, the Trooping the Colors should be that week. But I don't want to say for sure. I'm not entirely positive. So we will see. So that will be something I'm super excited about. And then I'm super excited to do more. I'd like to do maybe something to Scotland in October, I was thinking, because I love Scotland. And there's a really cool Scotland tour going up to, like, I think it's not Isle of Skye and stuff too. So that'll be super exciting. Marcia, the question, I'm curious, why weren't you a Catherine fan before? Just wondering. Yes. So I wasn't a huge, actually, Catherine fan for a while. And, I was really interested in her wedding and everything, and just watching that. I got up early to watch it and everything. But what I wasn't a super big fan of is she just seemed so, there just wasn't much there. We just didn't know much about her. She didn't really say much. She didn't really do much at the beginning. And this is like in the very beginning. So it was just, compared to other royals who are in kind of similar roles, we didn't get much from Kate for a while. I feel like that's really changed, and I feel like she's really blossomed. And what I appreciated too is that when she was at polo with her kids, this was right after Louis was born, you could tell that Catherine is the one who mothers her children. She doesn't leave it up to nanny. So when she's not doing royal things, she's parenting her children. And I think that's super important for the future of the monarchy and everything. And I really do think as well, it showed her that what I came to mind to me was that if she can raise those 3 kids really well, that'll set the monarchy up for the future. So even if she doesn't work a lot, if she's a great parent and greatly parents her kids, and her kids are all do incredibly well after high school, college, and everything, they're not really up in scandals and stuff, she would be worth her weight in gold to the UK, because what they don't need is another Harry. That's what they don't need. So she can avoid that. I think that'll be fantastic. Asma asks, so I have turned into a Kate fan, because I think she has done a really great job at growing into her role and growing more things that she can do, which I think is great. Asma asked, do you think the prince and the princess overshadow Harry and Meghan? I think they do, and I think they're starting to more and more, because they are the prince and princess of Wales. So that puts them on a different level. And so I feel like that is definitely something where they're really shining. They're really shining. Shady Rock asks, are they separated, and are their children? I'm not sure. But if this is a question about Harry and Meghan, I will say I don't think they're in the process of divorce, but I wouldn't be, again, surprised if they're separating their financials out. And I feel like that is a protection thing more, I feel like, for Meghan eventually. I think Meghan will benefit more from that than anybody else. Ashley Claire, thank you so much for the tip. Do you think Harry will go to the coronation? I think by the end of 2023, they'll be getting a divorce. Harry will have to admit he was wrong about Meghan. So I think Harry and Meg, they have to go to the coronation. There's no way around it. For their brand, for their future, they have to go. They can't avoid it. But at the same time, I don't think anybody's super thrilled to have them there. And I think they'll be very publicly sidelined, like they were at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. They were very publicly sidelined. And I don't think, some people said, well, that was the Queen's decision. No, I think that was Charles's decision. I think Charles said, no, we don't want Harry and Meghan even in the same shot as us, in terms of Charles and Camilla and Catherine and William. They very much made an effort to very publicly sideline, and you could say almost shame Harry and Meghan, kind of humiliate them in a way. And I actually did predict that, so I was excited. My prediction was right. But it was one thing where it was just so clear that they had to do that, because they had to they had to make sure Harry and Meghan knew their place. And they had to make sure they knew, because I think in Harry's mind, he still thought he would sit right next to his brother and Catherine. I don't feel like it's totally dawned on Harry how bad things are with his family. I think intellectually he somewhat knows it, but at the same time he doesn't. So he makes kind of silly decisions. He just doesn't even think through the ramifications of his decisions. And he's shocked, I think, sometimes when things go as badly as they do. I think he's truly, truly shocked. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of my hot cocoa here since I think it's cooled down a bit. That's good. Okay. Hi, some from South Africa, Lee. Good morning. Okay, Lee asks, do you think Omid Scobie has any credibility after lying courted on countless TV shows? His credibility, for anybody who is really in the royal, like knows anything about royals, his credibility is totally shot. He knows nothing. I don't think he gets the press releases, but I don't think he's allowed on any engagements. We have not seen personal video of him at a royal engagement in a while. I think the only ones maybe he even did go to were Meghan and Harry's, and now he's really out in the cold because his one claim to fame is that his connection to Harry and Meghan. So he's just a joke to anybody who's kind of serious in the field. And I feel like there are some people who are more invested in Harry and Meghan, and he's one of them. And some people have said Robert Lacey is another, but Harry and Meghan, again, is just he's their friend. He's their platform. He only says things that they agree with. So he's just basically a huge joke. And I feel like the rest of the world, the rest of the media is catching on to that. I'm still shocked he even has speaking roles with like ABC News and stuff. I really am, because he just doesn't really, he gets, I feel like he probably regurgitates things that other royal reporters have gotten, because I don't think he has many sources in the palace anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if he had any actual sources. PA Christian, thank you so much for the tip. Love what you do. Thanks and keep doing it. Thank you. I really do enjoy this. So it's all about just my biggest problem right now is time management. I was up until about 2 last night trying to finish the royal fashion review video for this week. So that was most of my evening trying to do that. And then before that, I was editing the Will and Kate one. So it is a lot of time, but I do super enjoy it. So No Jams, good morning. If Harry and Meghan had another kid, would they automatically be given title? Ooh, that is a good question. That is a really good question. Ooh, if Meghan, that would be actually kind of smart of Meghan. Because I think there is an argument to say that Harry and Meghan's children would only automatically get a title if Charles was king when they were born, which they were not. So if they have a kid now, that may apply. And then you could say, well, the rest of the kids deserve a title too, don't they? Ooh, that is an interesting question. But again, I feel like the palace is analyzing this and trying to decide what it wants to do. So I feel like at this point, Harry and Meghan, even if they had another child, the palace would be still like, oh, no. You must wait. Because they're still trying to decide if they want to go down this route or not. And honestly, I'm still the idea of, especially because Meghan was like, well, if they want to get into the entertainment industry, I'm like, sure. And like, Charles just needs to pull him now and forget it. Not that the entertainment industry is horrible. Grace Kelly was obviously an actress, but it was also the 50s at the time when things I feel like were a little bit more respectable. And there was obviously a lot of seediness going on behind the scenes, but at least the veneer was sorry. At least the veneer was good. So it was just one of those things where I'm like, anymore, it's like, what would their kids be acting in? You know, just what we need is a sex scene with like Archie or Lilibet or something being plastered all over the news, kind of like their moms was from Suits, which trended on Pornhub. So yeah. Anyways, all right. So Swamp Ophelia's in Cornwall. Good morning, John Alvarez from Yonkers, New York. Good morning. From Ireland, Alice O'Brien. So this is from Ireland. Have so much support for you from the start when numbers were small, and Meghan and Harry are on the way out, maybe 6 months of interest left. So yes, I feel like interest is waning. I've seen this even in my video numbers, some of the Harry and Meghan stuff is not doing quite as well. So I'm diversifying a bit, and I have my Catherine and William video, which is mostly Catherine and William and just a little bit in comparison on Harry and Meghan. But I'm still trying to figure out things aren't doing somewhat as well as they were. But obviously the Queen's death was a huge driver for traffic and everything. But I feel like the interest in Harry and Meghan is starting to wane. They're just starting to annoy people. And I hear this from you guys too sometimes. They're like, "Ugh, I'm just burnt out on Harry and Meghan." And I feel like they've oversaturated the market. They've done too much. They annoy too many people. So they are slowly eroding whatever fan base they had. So I feel like Harry and Meghan would do the world and themselves a great service of moving on and diversifying and doing something else from time to time. Or just like being quiet for like 6 months to a year would be fabulous, because I feel like so much of us, we all get, there's just too much Asima asked, Charles is getting on in age, will they be making the same mistake as they did with the Queen and Prince Philip? So I'm not sure I totally, well, so Charles, yes, I feel like, so Charles will reign for the rest of his life. I don't know if William will follow the same path, because I could see him doing what the Dutch have done, which is a voluntary abdication tradition. I like that, because that gives the families opportunities to mourn when the former monarch passes, and yet they have a celebration together when the monarchy goes on. So I feel like they will. I think Harry and Meghan, though, they live in this weird world, because I think they still thought the Queen would live for a bit longer and they could do whatever they wanted to do, and nobody would call them on it. And I feel like Charles is definitely wants to establish his throne, so he'll be more tough on them. In addition, William is like, I don't want to deal with this. And William, I feel like, because he's a sibling and not the because Harry's his sibling and not his child. So I feel like the child parent bond is stronger. William will be like, make this go away, Dad. We all need this to go away. So I feel like Harry and Meghan, they're not in the best spot right now. Sandra C. Hi, Brittany. I've recently discovered your channel 2 weeks ago and been watching your videos since then. Love your content. Thank you so much, Sandra. And thank you so much for the tip. You are so sweet. I really appreciate it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things go. But yeah, thank you so much, Sandra. Okay, Nikki Millennium. Harry and Meghan try to act like royal family is out cold, but the royal grandchildren obviously have a warm relationship with each other and with their elderly relatives. Yes. So that is Harry and Meghan's narrative, that the royal family is just horrendously cold and they couldn't get in and everything. I feel like that narrative has increasingly fallen flat with the public, because they're not. They're very sweet. They're very the grandkids, especially during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee on that pageant, they were falling all over each other in terms of they were having fun together. They obviously spend a lot of time together. The Phillips girls, Zara's children, Catherine and William's kids, and was there any other kids that age there? I don't think so. They spend a lot of time together. You can tell they spend a lot of time together. And that closeness can't be faked. And it makes because Harry and Meghan constantly put themselves out. There's no reason why Archie couldn't have been there. Even Eugenie's little son, August, he was there. So Archie could have been there. Lilibet could have been there. Why weren't they there? Just because Harry and Meghan didn't want to be involved in it. And that increasingly looks like Harry and Meghan's issue, not an issue of the monarchy. And I feel like that's awesome for the monarchy, because I am pro monarchy, guys. I'm pro monarchy. I want the monarchy to survive because I like seeing pretty jewelry and tiaras. So sue me. Oh, Shelly, thank you so much for the super sticker. Shelly Lewis, thank you. You are so sweet. Marie asked, did you read the Omid Scobie article? I haven't read it yet. I need to. I usually try to read it. And yeah, I haven't had a chance to, because he's just, there's a part of me that doesn't want to give him the clicks. Although I do feel like being the editor of Yahoo is a step down. So, and Marie, you said Pippa. Well, oh no, that's Bella. That's Bella up there. Pippa's somewhere else. Pippa's, I think, started wanting a bone. So yeah, that's little Bella behind me. That's my sister's dog. All right. Shell says Kate is Pregnant, I watched it today. Oh, I haven't seen anything yet. Roomka says, hello from the Netherlands. Do you have a place to stay with us if you want to do a feature on the royal family here? I do not have a place to stay yet, but I am planning on going to the Netherlands. I'd love to go there for King's Day one day because I think that would be so fun. And everybody gets dressed up in orange and it looks like a jolly good time. And I've debated if I had the chance to spend some time in Europe, like for the summer or something in the future, just getting a lot of royal coverage and stuff. I've debated the Netherlands is one of the places I've debated on being the home camp because I do like the Netherlands. And I really think it's a really pretty place. So thank you. Okay, I'm gonna take another sip here, my cocoa. Oh, Lori, you made it. Yes, you did. I'm so glad. All right, Leslie Warren, thank you so much for the tip. Been a follower since the beginning. Thanks for so much for all you do. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being a follower from the beginning. I was looking at some of my previous videos and my plain background, and my background's still not great, but I feel like my ability to get the videos together is so much better than it was. It was a rough go in the beginning, but we've all figured it out. Nicole H, thank you so much for the tip. I'm addicted to your channel. You offer interesting commentary. I love your long videos. Please make more. Yes, I enjoy the long videos too. The only challenge I have sometimes is that sometimes it takes so long for them to upload, and I don't know. I've had like technical frustrations recently, and I'm like, ah, my video editing platform isn't working as well as I'd like it to, and uploading time sometimes can be really long. And so I'm like, I'm trying to get stuff done and then it won't upload. I'm like, no, it will, but it just takes a long time. And so it's a bit of a bummer. Asma asked, oh, nope, I already looked at that question. Oh, Lisa says, I'm not pro Meghan. I can't stand her, but when are these kind of channels trying to push BS that they're getting they're divorcing is pathetic. I don't know if that's directed at me or not, but I did say they will divorce at some point, but I don't think they're doing that right now. But I do think they're probably doing some separation of their stuff, their financials legally. I think that is a distinct possibility. And it is a business thing people do in their positions, but also I feel like I said, it was a way for Meghan to ensure that she gets the most assets as possible in their inevitable divorce. That was my opinion. Joyce Brooks, oh, thank you so much for the tip. Sorry I'm late. Is it too late to join your trip? Do you have a link for it? I want to go. Love from Vegas. It is not too late. It goes live at 12. It goes live at 12 noon. So if you signed up for if you did the survey through Trova Trip, you'll get an email when the trip is live. And there'll be a early bird special for a bit. I can't remember how long it is. A week or two, maybe longer. And then the price will go up, but the difference is only about $100. But yes, if you want to go, I would love to have you. It'll be so much fun. It'll be so much fun. May figure out at the end how to put a link in perhaps the description box. Robin Smart says Harry will move back to the UK, but won't be a working royal. I fear self-harm from him when the marriage implodes. I do think he'll be pretty broken once the marriage goes, especially because he'll have to face the fact, especially as a guy, I feel like this will be harder to realize that, yeah, everything everybody told you was right and you were wrong. I feel like that'll be hard for him. And I don't think he may end up being a working royal again because he is more likable, but I think he will be really shattered after it. And I think it'll be really, really hard for him to realize and recognize the failure of the marriage, especially if Meghan goes and decides to cite his mental health issues as a reason. That's been posited before, that she's kind of making a case for it already. And I can definitely see that. When will Edward become the Duke of Edinburgh? So this is a question from Janice. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when he'll become the Duke of Edinburgh. I was hoping it would happen sooner than it has, but it's been a while. So I don't think... I wonder if it'll happen after the coronation. I really, really hope so. Mama asked, do they have tours that cater to physically disabled people? So this is the trip that I'm planning to the UK. I don't think all of them have a physical activity component, but there's ways to get kind of around things, I think, if you wanted to. So it's just one of those things. Okay, looking through the years, would it be great if oh, okay. I just answered. Oh, where do you think the divorce rumors come from? I think some of them, somebody else mentioned it. And I just thought I would just go ahead and put it in my 2 cents as well. And again, I said I'm of the opinion they definitely will not divorce before the coronation. I don't think there are any. I don't think there's any chance of that. But again, I think they're separating fine. They're separating their assets, which rich people do. They do set up different shell companies, corporations, things to shelter their income, and they obviously have to deal with tax situations and those sorts of things. So it's definitely entirely possible what Harry and Meghan are doing. Asma asked, are there any updates to the Home Office being sued by Harry? I have not heard anything about that recently. The last I heard is that it was still going forwards, but now he's doing his father's government, not his grandmother's government, which is still bad. It's still all bad, and still just a giant whine-a-thon about, oh, my life is so hard. I don't get security. And again, I feel like he's way overestimating the threat that is to Harry, that is to him and his family. Not that it doesn't exist, but how much he thinks it exists, I think is a little much. Yeah, and I saw this a couple of times, and I think I'll mention it too. One of the things, people mentioned about, disability or having challenging walking on tours. And I will say, when it comes to especially being in Europe, there's just some places where it's just so much easier to walk. Unfortunately, they are, because the roads are old oftentimes, and they're windy and things. Sometimes it is just easier to walk some places, but there's always ways around it. It just is. I would say if you haven't been to Europe, it's a bit more challenging than it is in the States to get around to a certain extent. Asma asks, is Samantha Markle still suing Meghan? As far as I know, the answer is yes, but I haven't heard any update on that. I have heard, though, that she's back on Twitter. So that is interesting. Oh, this is an interesting comment, Ritz, saying, interesting that they don't use the title Crown Prince or Princess in Britain, but in other countries it's popular. Anyone know why? So I'm not sure the exact origin of it, so you will have to forgive me. But so in the Scandinavian countries, it's Crown Prince or Princess. So Crown Princess Victoria, Crown Princess Mary, Crown Prince Frederick, Crown Prince Crown Prince Haakon, and Crown Princess Mette-Marit. So they all have that title, and that denotes them as the heir to the throne. But if you look at, so in Belgium, it's the Duchess of Brabant. That is, or Duke of Brabant. That's the official title of whoever is the heir apparent. In the Netherlands, it's the Prince or Princess of Orange. In Spain, it's the Prince or Princess of Asturias. So and obviously in the UK, it's the Prince or Princess of Wales. So, and that is a title that is, the Prince or Princess of Wales is something that is bestowed upon them. It's not something they're automatically granted. So the being the Duke of Cornwall denotes you also as the heir apparent, because you control the Duchy of Cornwall. But yes, so it is something where the Scandinavian countries have done it that way. I'm not sure of the origin there. There just may not be some of those, at least in the case of Norway, the family is actually quite young in terms of being the ruling family, because Norway and Sweden had a lot of close connections, and so did Denmark. So there was at some point, Norway, it was like an offshoot of the Swedish royal family that became the Norwegian royal family. And it was something they decided to do. And I can't remember exactly how it went, but I think that was just established in the 1800s. So it's a very young royal family in a lot of ways. Sorry, I got a puppy, and she's trying to decide what she wants to do. And she wants pets at the same time. I can do two things at once, but sometimes it's hard. But yes, so the Scandinavians, they use Crown Prince or Princess, and then in the rest of Europe, it's all different kind of various titles. So it's just something really fascinating. And in Luxembourg, it's hereditary, denotes the heir apparent. So it's the heredity Grand Duke, Guadalupe, and Grand Duchess Stephanie. And that's also the case in Germany. So Ernst of Hanover, he's a hereditary Ernst of Hanover. I think that's how it works. Because he's technically the highest ranking Hanover right now, but his son, but he doesn't actually have a kingdom anymore. It's all very complicated. I feel like every family has their own different rules. And I'm most familiar with the British. I've learned a bit more about the other ones, but sometimes it's just hard to keep up because they're all so different and they all have their legacies going back centuries. And yeah, so it is kind of interesting. Okay, looking through here. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, don't forget, put them in all caps if you can. It does help me. Does help me find them. Question: could the separation of assets mean they're pending lawsuits against them? That could be true too. I did mention that in the video as well. Lawsuit issue can definitely be a possibility. So if they separate their assets and they're sued, especially if it could be Samantha's lawsuit that they're worried about, it could be even a lawsuit by Netflix or Spotify in terms of breach of contract. At this point, at least they produce something for Spotify. Netflix, I'm sure their thing will come out before the end of the year or at the very early beginning of next year. That's my guess. But like if I was Netflix, I'd be mad. Megan's publicly poo-pooed their own reality TV show that they helped produce. She's like, well, it wasn't the story we wanted to tell. It's like, well, you're executive producing it. How is that? How could it not be your story? You're the one in charge of it. That's an issue. And then she also, said that she couldn't find anything to watch. She's like, we just scroll through. And it's like, if I was Netflix, I'd be like, what do you mean you just scroll through our content and you can't find anything? You're publicly telling the world that you can't find anything good to watch on Netflix. But you can find something good to watch on HBO Max, which is White Lotus. So Megan, I don't know why she didn't come up with just something from Netflix that she watches besides kids programming. Because sure, Netflix is like, yeah, we like the kids programming, but they slashed a huge portion of that budget and dismissed a lot of the animated shows because they're more cumbersome to produce because they want to that prime market is the adult market. So I just it was if I was if I was Netflix, I would have been livid when she did that. It was just such a public diss of their company, basically. Uh, Asma asked, "Do you think Omid Scobie will be sued?" I doubt it. I doubt he'll be sued. I don't think it'll get that far. I don't feel like the royal family is that keen on dragging something out into the, except for Harry and Meghan, because again, you had to look at Meghan's court case. Who came out looking the best out of that court case? The monarchy. Meghan came out looking the worst. She came out being identified publicly basically as a liar. That a lot of her narrative about things that, oh, I don't have those texts anymore. They're deleted after 90 days. And Jason Knaft goes, no, I have all these texts. She won on a technicality because the law was written in the way that she could win. But it was a gigantic failure for her because I feel like it put her in a worse light. So I don't feel like, to a certain extent, suing is all that effective at times. Pam Marie asked, do you think Harry and Meghan were left anything by the Queen? And do you think it'll be in Harry's book? No, I don't think they were left much by the Queen. I think if anything was left, it would have been left to Harry or the grandkids. I don't think Meghan would have gotten diddly squat. And you got to think too, the Queen was supporting a lot of people financially. Three of her children, and I'm sure a bit of her grandchildren as well. So, and her own, her own needs and those sorts of things. So I don't think there was as much money as you might think there is. And they're not Monaco. They have enormous amount of physical assets in terms of furniture, paintings, artwork, jewelry, those sorts of things. But it comes to actual cash, I feel like they're more cash strapped than you would probably think. They're not rolling in the dough. So in terms of, I mean, they're rolling in the dough in our sense, probably in most normal people's sense, but in the bigger picture, they're not really. So they don't have quite as much cash as like the Kingdom of Thailand. I mean, they're worth billions. The Middle Eastern families, most of them are worth billions. The British royalty, they have the largest diamond in the world, but a lot of that too is tied up in estate issues. So that means that it belongs to whoever is the monarch, but they can't really sell some of that stuff. Or else they'll I don't know quite how to explain it, but they find that. So Dolores says, good morning from Ohio. Love your channels. Don't you think Meghan is helping Harry look mentally unfit when the divorce happens? Yes, that's been posited. And I think that's definitely probably the case, is that she's just making him look bad, I think. So, and it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. And so let's looking through finding more questions. Jack Royston has now said that Catherine supported Meghan's Uvalde trip. Oh, I don't know who that is. So this is from J.R. Ewing pointed that out. I don't know who that is, but yeah, no. No, I don't think anyone would support that trip. I don't know why Meghan's own PR team let her do that stunt. It was so ludicrous. It was so ludicrous. She's not a princess of the United States. And so I feel like that's what she thought she was, is that she's like this princess of America and everybody wants to see her at these disaster sites. It's like, no. No, 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 no. Okay. Stephanie asked, "What do you think of the Tessa Dunlop attack on Tom Bauer?" I haven't really seen that yet. I think I saw it on social media, but I haven't really watched it yet. But I feel, if I remember correctly, that she is at least a bit pro Meghan, or kind of attacked Tom for what he has said about Meghan. And honestly, at the end of the day, Tom, the vast majority of what he said, I think it will be proven right. And I think he had a decent argument for Meghan, because I really thought the way he set it up, her goals and desires, was, I think, incredibly, incredibly spot on, because it made complete and total sense to me. And I mean, that's not saying a ton, but I felt like he put together a reasoned argument, and there's a reason he hasn't been sued. Patricia Hume, thank you so much for this tip. Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. Dolores, did I thank you? I can't remember. I'm seeing this now. Sometimes I have things that they're supposed to pop up to the top, but if I missed it, I'm so sorry. But Dolores, thank you so much for the tip. Kenzie asked, "Will you be reviewing The Crown?" Yes. And I'll do some sort of live watch on Wednesday after it premieres. I don't think I'll get to watch the full thing yet, but we'll be doing some sort of kind of live stream initial thoughts of a couple of the first bits of episodes. I've thought about Thursday, but maybe Wednesday, but it would be later in the day. So guys, let me know what you think, what time a day you think would be a bit better. Is Queen Camilla accepted in the UK? This is from Jody. Yes, I think she is. I think Christopher Anderson on Megyn Kelly, again, he argued that Camilla's popularity will tank after a bit. I don't think that's really necessarily the case. Again, I feel like most people have somewhat moved on, and so I think there's a decent amount of support there for Camilla. And honestly, she keeps her head down and she works. And that's all you can ask from a spouse, really, is that they keep their head down and they work, and they're not causing waves, and they're not causing controversy, really, and they're trying to do what they can to help the rest of the royalty and royal family, and they don't step on anybody else's toes, or they're not trying to gain support from anybody. I mean, that's all you can ask for, really. So I think Camilla does a good job that way. Do you think the vintage Chanel, do you think the vintage Chanel that the Princess of Wales wore was actually from her mother's closet? She has worn other vintage. I don't think it's necessarily from her mother's closet, because I feel like the Middletons have only had their success with probably within the last 20 years or so that they've done exceptionally well. Maybe a little bit earlier than that, 20, 30 years. So I don't feel like it could be from her mom's closet, but I don't think so, because the girls were pretty conservative in what they wore. Catherine really didn't wear a lot of high-end things before she married into the British royal family. She really didn't. Most of her wardrobe was, it could be a couple of $100s, but it wasn't like in the thousands of dollars like it can be now. So I don't feel like her mom would have had the money necessarily to spend on a bunch of Chanel, especially because and this is not to, a lot of people say the Middletons are social climbers, and how to a certain extent you are. If you're trying to get into the British royal family, you do kind of social climb a bit. So I don't feel like if they had the money to spend on something like that, I feel like they would have purchased it before. But I do think Catherine was smart, and I think she likes fashion, and I think she was searching for vintage things, and she's found something from time to time, because the YSL vintage piece she wore in Belize, I think they said she purchased in college. So I feel like Catherine has been slowly perhaps building a vintage collection, and it's something that she's interested in, but doesn't pull out a ton. And I'm not sure exactly why that could be, but it is I do think it looks really gorgeous. Gorgeous on her for sure. Oh, Ken Joe, somebody's asking because I did ask a couple people about the the merchandise I'm trying to plan because I'm trying to plan, maybe a shirt or a mug or something. And Ken John says, I thought don't complain, never don't explain would have been great for the merch, but James Corden ripped it off from the Queen. That is funny. The book The King is by Christopher Anderson. This is from P Pacific. His book is full of lies. He doesn't know what he's talking about. A snake and oil salesman beware. Yes, I just listening to his interview with Megyn Kelly, I was like, does this guy know anything? I'm like, where is he getting his stuff? I feel like there's it just especially his comment like, well, I just thought the royal family they'd just get on with it and they just embrace Harry and Meghan while they're there. And I'm like, well, what planet are you on? Harry and Meghan have no role, and it's just he you could tell he was a Diana loyalist because he also said, Camilla would never be accepted. And it's like, I'm sorry, Diana's been passed away 25 years ago now. Camilla has been there for a long time, and I feel like it is people are beginning to really accept her. And I feel like I think that is great. She has played her role well, and she has a really difficult time. Can you imagine? I mean, not to dismiss what she did at all, or Charles did, or Diana did, but at this point, I think she has not stepped a foot wrong. She's not overstepped her bounds. She has not publicly criticized Diana in any way. So I feel like that is very much a great way for her to go. So I feel like there should be a um, I think she deserves support. Do you think people in London can meet up for you and your group for a drink? That would be awesome. This is from Night Owl. I think that would be great. Yeah, if you guys wanted to, we can figure something out, and I'll be there for the coronation as well. And I kept my hotel room perhaps for if the Trooping of the Color happens, I may stay for that too. So, but we'll have to see. Um, Grandma 114 asked, what do you think Harry's next two books will be about? I don't know. Like, what else do they have to sell? I guess we'll get the obligatory Meghan biography, as if anybody wants that. And I don't know. I mean, the bench did not do well at all. Meghan's writing is terrible. It's really bad. She is too flowery in her wording, which does better in a speech, but doesn't do as well in a written piece. And she's not as good at that as she thinks she is. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes from there. Janice asked, do you think Harry will be feeling a little bit of guilt over Philip's death because of the poor timing? I think Harry will be, oh gosh. I think Harry will, if he's not regretting already, I think he'll regret for the rest of his life that he did not see his grandfather or his grandmother right before they passed. I think that'll eat at him. If it's not eating at him now, it will at some point. And at the end of the day, I feel like the only person he has himself to blame, obviously, but I feel like Meghan played a huge role in that. And I feel like at some point that will really start to grate on him. And that could be what the impetus for the demise of their marriage is, that Harry's going, wait, I lost I lost this precious time with my grandmother. He was in the country when she died. He was in the country, and he had a day or two where he could have visited her. He could have gone early and visited her. He could have gone the day before her death and visited her, and he didn't. That'll grate on him. That'll grate on him for the rest of his life. And perhaps, Meghan's not fully to blame, but I think she played a huge role in it. And if that's not something he's aware of now, I think it'll be something she's aware of as time goes on. Kenzie J asked, Meg got jewelry pieces of Diana. And I think sometimes I wonder if she's really wearing Diana's Cartier watch, or she just bought a watch just like Diana's Cartier watch, so people think that she has that watch. But yeah, it seemed like she got a couple pieces, but I'd be interested to see. I think we've seen maybe a bracelet or two, but I feel like we haven't seen much of Diana's jewelry on her since she left. And I wonder if part of it was, well, you can't take these jewelry pieces with you when you leave. And I would be curious if that was the case with some of it. So except for maybe Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen it, but I will say Meghan did not get the nice stuff. That was for sure. Meghan got kind of the worst stuff. Pia Valdivia said, I love your channel. I like that you are neutral on your criticism. Thank you. I tried to be kind of come at it from a logic standpoint, going, sometimes perhaps I dip into a different way. But yeah, I try to be neutral. I try to be pretty even-handed, and I try to explain things, and I feel like in a way that makes sense to people and is also just truthful to the situation. So Kimberly Zay asked, good point. She should never be allowed to keep Diana's jewelry. Is there a protocol for jewelry in the case of a divorce? So this is actually a really interesting question, because in Denmark, the queen's second son, he married a woman named Alexandra. And when they got divorced, she got to keep the royal family's tiara that they had given her, because somehow, some way, in the way the queen gave it to her or something, Alexandra can now claim it as her personal property. So it's now her personal property. And this is bad because those tiaras, they're hit with inheritance taxes. They need to be something that's held within the main line of the family. And that the divorcee got it is just bizarre. So as I understand it too, after the whole Diana debacle, that was still pretty fresh in people's minds. So apparently they gave her a really sweet deal, in part because of what happened with Diana, which I found was weird, because Diana and Charles divorced about, it wasn't 10 years earlier, but it was a good chunk of time earlier than Alexandra and Joachim got divorced. So I found that interesting, but because I would think Meghan would fight tooth and nail for whatever minuscule amounts of jewelry that she got from Diana, because she got those butterfly earrings, which I feel like should have just gone to like Charlotte or a child, not those butterfly earrings feel like for a young woman that Meghan was when she wore them. And the Cartier tank watch, and obviously the aquamarine ring, and there was a handful of other things, a bracelet or two or something. Meghan got really the not pretty jewelry of Diana's. And I feel like that was by design. She also was not lent anything by the queen. No jewelry by the queen except for her wedding tiara. That's really, really telling too. Although I will say the Brits and the queen have been more chintzy on sharing the jewelry. But I still feel like Meghan just was not lent much beyond what she got from that belonged to Diana. But I feel like she will fight tooth and nail for it in the divorce and insist that, well, it's hers. And because she's like, I'll give it back, I'll give it to my kids or something. And I just don't worry about that. So, okay, let's go down here and see if there's any other. Are Harry and Meghan suing Tom Bauer? No. As far as we are aware, they are not suing. Asma asked, what's happened to Eugenie? She is still, she's not working royal, but she's still around, and she still does things related to human trafficking. That is a passion of hers. So she has a podcast related to that, which I do need to watch or listen to at some point. So that is what she's up to. And as I understand, she's still back at her art house, auction house job. So I think she's still probably working there. Maggie asked, do you think that Harry and Meghan will feel the removal of their titles will be revenge for the book? They probably will. And that'll be somewhat the public perception too. But if they are truly brutal in that book, they have to strip those titles. They have to do it. They cannot rely on people's, and honestly, it's getting to the point too where they don't have that much support. So I feel like the monarchy's ability to leverage and go, hey, we need to strip these titles. I think most people would be like, you didn't do it soon enough. And that's where the monarchy needs to be. They don't, in the beginning, would have been more difficult. And I feel like it would have been felt like more revenge. But at this point, it's like Harry and Meghan, they've caused this themselves. It's all their own doing. So I feel like the monarchy will be in a lot better place to do that. Gunita asks, in the event of divorce, when Harry's kids be stuck in California because of the kid, wouldn't Harry be stuck in California because of the kids? Yes, he would definitely be stuck in California. And I feel like that's a really sad thing for Harry, because I don't think he has a ton of support there, really. He has David Foster, who's his second father, but I feel like, again, it's kind of a sad thing, because it's like, well, you have an actual living father. He could be, an uncle or something, because I don't think Harry's necessarily particularly close to his uncle. So you could say, well, he's another uncle I could lean on. But a second father, it's like, no. And everybody who's there in California, they're just yes people. They're just people desperate to cling to that little bit of royalty. They don't really care for him. And granted, that's always the case to a certain extent in other places too. But the advantage of the UK is that there's a lot of titled people. And this community of the aristocracy, it's very insular and it's very protective. So those people, yes, they are titled too, but they would be protective of Harry rather than just simply using him. Carla asks, do you think Meghan always says my husband sounds, why do you think Meghan always says my husband sounds so derogatory? I don't know, but it really does. She also said, she called him in the cut interview. It became from my husband. She originally called him my love, but she would only call him my love when he was in the room with her. And then when he left, he was just Harry all of a sudden again. And again, I feel like it's that thing where Meghan's showing too many sides to her, that she's kind of two-faced. And I really feel like it's sad because I feel like Harry just doesn't even recognize that it's kind of manipulative that she always calls you just my love when she's with you and then just calls you Harry in other places. Because I would feel like you would want to call him, my love all the time or just in private, because it feels performative when it's done for him in the presence of somebody else. But if it's done in private, then it's a private thing rather than something that almost feels performative because you're doing it when he's there with and somebody else can hear you. And then when he leaves, he's just Harry again. So which is it? And my husband kind of feels like the same thing to a certain extent. Okay. Devani asked, can you imagine Princess Margaret with Meghan? No. I feel like Meghan would not have lasted long in the British monarchy if the Queen Mother was still alive, if Princess Margaret was still alive. She would not have lasted very long at all. I really don't think she would have done. I don't think she would have lasted. I don't think, and to a certain extent, it is snobbery, but it's also like they know they're not they're also smart and they're also savvy in a way. They know people who are using them and people who are not using them generally. So I feel like it's just kind of, they would have just seen her from a mile away and go, oh, I know exactly what kind of woman she is. And I think they would have said, oh, heck to the no. And Meghan would have been really put through the ringer. Meghan got a super easy time of it. The press was tough on her, but they were tough on Kate too. It just takes you a bit. You just have to work through it and you'll get to the other side at some point. But Meghan just didn't even try. She didn't care. Like the citizen test. I feel like once it got too hard, she probably just was like, oh, forget this. I don't even want to be a citizen here anyways. PJK asked, have you heard updates on scaling down a staff and transferring up to other openings? I haven't heard much of an update on that. So if you don't know, right after basically Charles became king, some people at Clarence House were given, pink slips, just said, well, we need to slim down redundancy issues. So your job will be basically terminated. And I do feel sorry for the people who received those type of notices, but it's not a surprise either. The monarchy can't just indefinitely keep on two staff's households for no other reason than they don't, just to keep people happy or just to keep people on the payroll. They would get criticized for that. I mean, they got criticized for the way they did it and how they did it, but they had to do it either way. So perhaps the timing was bad, but they needed to do it. So I have not heard anything about the updates. I'm sure some people will be accepted into other royal households, or they'll perhaps get a different position somewhere else. But it's just one of those things where it was just something that had to be done. So let's go through. If there are no children, how has Harry rationalized this lie? Oh, sorry. Okay, guys. I always think that children. Pippa, shush. I feel like there are children, but I don't feel like they are. I think there are children, and because I don't think you could lie about that. But I do think they believe that if they keep things quiet, that somehow they'll there'll be more interest generated in the kids. And I think that's been a huge misstep on Harry and Meghan's part. Sharon asked, are the royal ladies going to have dresses made for the coronation like they did for Queen Elizabeth? So it will definitely be not as grand as Queen Elizabeth's coronation. So I feel like the only people wearing tiara, because like there was like at one point where all the lords and stuff, everybody was wearing a crown and all the ladies had tiaras. I don't think that'll be the case for this one. I think there'll be main members of the family, working members. So that'll be Catherine, William, perhaps Edward and his wife. That could be a possibility too. And so that's what I see happening. But I don't feel like everybody else would be. I think they would perhaps be wearing gowns, but just not as, it just won't be quite as grand. But I feel like Catherine will definitely, and Camilla will definitely have dresses made for them for that event. I'm sure Alexander McQueen is hard at work. The House of Alexander McQueen is hard at work right now creating something for Catherine. That would be my guess. What would be kind of cool is if she took her wedding reception dress and like reworked it for the coronation. I think that would be super cool. That would be really, really cool. I'd be super excited if that was the way she would get. Joe asked, would you consider collaborating with other YouTubers? Yes, I've actually kind of thought about how to do that exactly. I've had some ideas. I've had at least one person reach out. And so I'll see where that goes in the future. Right now, I'm just I just work so much and there's only so much time in the day. And so and sometimes I'm like, I need like a virtual personal assistant or something, somebody to help me keep me on track, because just getting the videos done and edited and everything takes a lot of time. So Beth, thank you so much for the super sticker. If I didn't thank you yet, just making sure I thank people, because sometimes, again, it doesn't come to the top of the screen. Natalie says, love your show. I feel for Harry living with a narcissist would be so draining. I hope Harry gets through it. Narcissists love preying on vulnerability. Hope his mental state survives her. I hope so too. I really do. I think it will. I think it'll. I really hope he can get through it. I hope he can. Because I do feel sorry for the guy. I really do, guys. It's just so, I mean, it's so hard to know for Harry. I do feel really sorry for him, because I feel like he is struggling, and I feel like he will be totally broken by their divorce. Thank you so much, Grandma 1147, for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. So Robin Smart says, like Kinsey Schofield, like what she makes her a royal expert, you have to know and understand the culture and the history to truly be a royal historian. Yes, I feel like that is true. I'm working on my credentials. But yeah, and it'd be great to collaborate with Kinsey. That would be awesome. That would be awesome too. Yeah, and Lee says Meghan bought that watch when she worked on Suits as a gift to herself. It's described to Yes. So that's why I wonder sometimes if that Cartier watch is really Meghan Markle's, and she maybe changed out, because I think it was two-tone, silver and gold. Maybe she changed out the two-tone to make it look like it's Diana's watch. Because at this point, I feel like, again, Catherine should get a lot because she is the Princess of Wales. And then she also, I feel like a good chunk of it should go to Charlotte, and perhaps maybe a little bit, but honestly as well, nobody sees a little bit. And a little bit has, will have an American accent, have no connection to the royal family whatsoever other than blood. So what's the point? Pia Valdiva says, if Kate is pregnant, she'll be super pregnant for the coronation, almost close to delivery. That could be true. And I just feel like that would be too much. I don't think Catherine would want to do that. So yeah. D Charger asked, do you watch according to Taz? So I did watch a lot of other royal channels, and for a long, long time, but I did kind of slow down just because I did not want to watch somebody else's content or analysis, and I'm subconsciously mirroring it. I didn't want to do that. So I did kind of slow down watching some of the other royal channels. I should watch more just to see what other people are doing, but it's just something where I love her content and I watch like religiously every single one of her videos. But I did slow down just because, again, I didn't want to subconsciously say this something similar. I wanted my thoughts and opinions coming from what I know and from what I read from the stories and kind of what I know that's probably going on behind the scenes. That's the way I've kind of adjusted and addressed that issue. Fred asks, have Harry and Meghan write their negativity as private citizens? Yes. They are, I would say, very negative, and the public perception of them is super negative. It just is. And I know I did see somebody on here somewhere say, what is all this hate about Harry and Meghan? It's like, well, they kind of created it themselves, really. And it's just this negative public perception that negativity about Meghan Markle sells. Positivity doesn't quite as much. That's just a reality of the situation. Positive content about Kate generally sells, whereas negative comment, not quite so much. And I honestly will say as well, I don't feel like Catherine's probably clothes gets more coverage than almost anything else. But it's just one of those things where it's like the negativity surrounding them is their own creation. It is. And Harry had his likability, but it's just decreased by a lot since he met Meghan. And all the polls show this. All the polls, especially in the UK and everything, show that Harry and Meghan are not popular anymore. And Harry used to be the most popular member of the royal family. And he really only has himself to blame that that's not the case anymore. It's just really quite sad. So, sorry, just looking through here. I have a question. This is Xana is, if the kids get titles and those two get divorced, does the king have a say as where the kids will reside? So this is an interesting question, because if you are, how close you are in the line of succession, the monarch actually is technically your guardian. So technically, for George, Charlotte, and Louis, the king is their guardian. For a while, it was the queen. Now it is King Charles. But I don't feel like this is a right exercised much. I don't know. I would have to look, because it's been a while since I was read something like this. I don't know if Lilibet and Archie would fall under that umbrella or not. I'm just not sure if they would, if they're too far down or what have you. And in that case, I don't know if they I don't know how that would just be managed. But I don't feel like Charles would exercise that authority. The Queen didn't when it came to William and Catherine, really, and I don't feel like Charles will either. And because I feel like if he demanded that the kids had to come back to the UK, I just don't think that would go over well from a PR perspective. So I feel like he'll just say, well, they can do whatever they want, and that's all we got. So, but that is a very interesting question. Jake says, if Catherine was pregnant, wouldn't she be in the hospital? She was terribly sick at the beginning of her pregnancies. Yes, and she was gone for 2 weeks, and I feel like that fueled it a bit, but the kids were on break. And I feel like, too, it was a rough week for them rough week or two for them right after the Queen died. There was a ton they had to do. There was a tons of kids that had to do. So I feel like they did need the break. They did. They needed a bit of a moment to catch their breaths, but they do need to look, and it's on them now. They really need to start. They've stepped up before, but they need to keep doing that. Asma asked, why is Harry's book being released after Catherine's birthday? Because apparently they really do hate Catherine and always do things around her birthday. I do feel sorry for Kate. Somebody asked, that's a huge cup of hot chocolate. Yes, it is. And I did my Boston mug today. Sorry, I had to do reverse. I got the shirt I wore in Boston too that says History Nerd, because I had to go help my parents with the storage unit here in a minute. So that is what I'll do. So I was like, I'll just get in this today. Concerned Citizens said Harry forgot the saying bros before us. Lisa says, I see this is what kind of channels do spout BS, just like the sugar channels. Stop it. Just talk the truth. I mean, the part of the fun is speculation. That's part of the fun of actually royal watching, is speculating on what's going on. But it's not just BS. It comes from background of watching royals, or at least for me, of watching royals for well over 10 years very closely. I'm also a historian, so I read a lot about history and royalty, and I'm just somebody super invested in it. So sometimes, whoa, goodness gracious, sorry. There's a little bit of fight over the couch here. All right, no. Pippa's showing her fierceness today, guys. Okay. So it just comes from that. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, understanding royalty is important. And so if it's not, the thing is, I think everybody has their own bias, but I don't hide mine. And so I think that's kind of important. But my bias is pro monarchy. That's what it is. It always will be pro monarchy. I want monarchies to survive. And I think it's fantastic. And once you understand and have a greater appreciation for what they do, it's, you just kind of understand, you have appreciation for it. And as well, history, this has always been the case with monarchies. People have always been speculating about what's been happening in monarchies. That's half the fun of it. That's half the fun of it. And it's just one of those things where I just like it. And it's just something I truly enjoy. And Pia asked, will you do something with Lucy Worsley? I know she's super famous, but wouldn't that be amazing? It really would. So she does a lot of things related to history. She actually even lived at Hampton Court Palace for a while. Hampton Court is one of my favorite royal palaces. It's so unique looking because it has this red brick, which you just don't see a lot of. It's like fully red brick in the beginning, but it has this very medieval look. And then on the back is like Versailles. Because they were encouraged by the Versailles. So it's just one of those, I just loved Hampton Court Palace. It's just one of my favorites. I was there this summer. I need to do a video on it because I got a lot of coverage while I was in there. And I'm just super excited about it. So hopefully we'll get to do something like that at some point. Did you get any new books on the royalty? Yes, I did. Last weekend, for some reason, I just got on a binge and I bought like 3 or 4, actually more like 4 or 5 books. So I bought Christopher Jackson's book on the Queen because he does all the amazing pictures from Getty. I love his images. He captures the best images. I feel like especially of Catherine and William, because he actually does know them because his wife worked for Catherine. I think she still works for them. She was part stylist, part personal assistant. Her name's Natasha Archer. And then I also got a book on Wallis Simpson, and it said, part of the biography said that one of her first words were me. I just saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, this so reminds me of Meghan. So I got that book. One of them was more on the Dutch, and the Dutch, I think was this time period in Dutch history, like their recession or something. I cannot remember now exactly what it was, but it sounded really interesting. And then I got one or two on medieval queens. And then I got another one too. And then I bought a book from Alison Ware about the Princes in the Tower. So I'd like to read that before doing the video on the Princess of the Tower. I did read through really quickly for the Elizabeth Bathory video. If you haven't watched that, you should. It is awesome about basically how royalty is the reason we have vampires to a certain extent. You can thank Elizabeth Bathory and Vlad the Impaler for Twilight. They're just so fun. They were awful people, but the role they had in history, I think, is really unique and interesting. And so it's just, those were a couple of the books I got, and I got a couple of 2 magazines too. But I've been trying to be on the lookout for the special Vogue edition for the Queen's death, but they haven't gotten it out yet in the last couple Barnes and Nobles I've checked, because that is usually where you can find those. Kathy asked, why isn't King Charles stripping the titles? What could be some of the reasons? Again, I think he's waiting to see how bad the book and reality TV show is. So he's waiting for that. And this is hard. He has to actually request it through Parliament. And this is, again, I feel like they're trying to protect Harry for the inevitable divorce. I think that will happen at some point. And so they want to give him a way back in, because I don't think he has a ton of prospects beyond that. But I mean, now he has his business contacts, so maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he has a life and Charles is like, well, you're on your own. But this is something where they have to request it through Parliament. It hasn't been done, but I think it's something they should do, because I think it's a threat to future generations. Is you need to follow the party line. If you don't, for whatever reason, hey, that is on you, but there are consequences. Royalty is no longer a right in terms of you have a right to X, Y, and Z privilege. It is a privilege. So what does that mean is that some of a title, something else can be stripped from you. That puts the burden on the royal, whoever they are, to say, if you want this, That's great, but you have to act a particular way. If you don't, then you will have an issue. And I feel like I think that's a good thing for the monarchy and for the future, is to say those type of things. So we'll see how that goes. So Rosemary's sub first time comment: when Diana and Charles were divorcing, that issue came up about William and Harry are guardians of the Queen and crown. Yes. So yeah, I just don't know if Harry and Meghan's kids still fall under that or not. They may, but I feel like, again, Charles would, at this point, I mean, how many times has Charles even seen Archie and Lilibet? I don't even know if he's seen Lilibet more than one time in person. He maybe barely saw her during the Platinum Jubilee, and that is it. That is it. Archie, a handful of times. We even heard that William and Catherine only saw Archie a handful of times. So, yeah, I don't know. So it's just one of the things that is super, super sad. So yeah, Mary, thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing. Oh, Marissa asked, where did you get that gorgeous wall hanging? It's actually my sister's, so I don't know where she got it. She got it somewhere. Kendall asked, and so we'll wrap up here in a minute here. Kendall asked, do you think William and Catherine will have another child? I answered this at the beginning of the video. I don't think they will. I think they're 3 and they're done. So it'll be, I think it'll be some, I don't think they'll have it, sadly. Lucy Worsley and Tracy Borman are joint heads of the royal palaces, and they have offices in Hampton Court. Tracy, I believe, got married in either the Tower of London or Hampton Court. Ooh, yes. That would be awesome to get married in one of those places. That'd be cool. Beach says, can you post a recommended reading list? Yes, I can. I've actually always thought, and I know I've said this a million times, and I just need to figure out how to get it done. Or how I want to do it exactly. But I have thought about doing a royal book club. So we would be reading recent books, historical royal books. And because I enjoy reading and I need to be able to read more, part of the reason I would like to read a lot more right now, because I'd love to do more historical content and those sorts of things. I just don't have the time. And the reason why I like to read the actual history books from good historians, I am a historian, so I know how to look to make sure that this person's probably doing the best research possible in this situation and giving me pretty decent information. And so I usually try to be kind of careful about who I'm looking at, researching the author, making sure they're a good historian, because I want to make sure anytime I give you information, it's the best information. And sometimes I'm just pulling, I'm just giving you my opinion based on kind of my understanding of royalty and history and culture and those sorts of things. And so I always say my opinion. I know perhaps I say that too much, but that's just something kind of good legally to do. But that's what I try to do. Me says, good morning, Brittany, Royal News Network. You are so right. Has not thought through the ramifications, the SS uniform wearing, the nude pool playing in public. Meghan, this is not a thinker, folks. Yeah, he doesn't think long-term, and neither does Meghan, really. She doesn't. I mean, there's so many things. If I was her, I would think 12 steps. Well, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm the greatest strategist in the world. I'm not. But I do analyze things, and I do make pretty good decisions based on what the future might hold. And Meghan just did not do that, because I would have told her, stay, even if you plan on leaving, stay for at least 5 years. Get the people on your side before just bolting. Meghan just didn't try to get people on her side. She just bolted. So the people who were kind of on the fence, just kind of liked her, were like, well, okay, I guess. And then when you did the Oprah Winfrey interview, all those people fell off a cliff. And it's like, well, if you had tried, if you had really put in the effort. But I think people see after a while, it's like, well, you weren't even in there 2 years before you thought this was all too hard for you. Yeah. Oh, this is Joyce says, I love history too. My husband and I were married on April 10th, 1981. Charles and Diana got married in May 1981, and I stayed up to watch their wedding live. And my son was born on April 25th, 1982. William, May 1982. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, and I think my mom actually stayed up and watched the royal wedding too, and she actually did get married that year as well. So Cindy Lou asks, if Charles is elderly, William will step up his royal duties if Charles becomes seriously ill or is hospitalized for any length of time. So yes, thank you so much for the tip, Cindy. And that's a great question. So yes, that's where the counselors of state issue comes in. And that's why they're perhaps looking to amend where Andrew and Harry fall within that. So Andrew and Harry are both considered counselors of state right now, even though Andrew has been removed from public life, and Harry has removed himself from public life in terms of being a member of the royal family, and he lives in California. So they cannot step in for Charles in any capacity. So that leaves literally just Princess Beatrice, who is not a working member of the royal family either. I think she's lovely, but she's not a working member, and Prince William. So Prince William, all the burden falls on him. And Camilla is also included in that, but Camilla is actually a year or two older than Charles. So she's getting up there as well. So it's not like she could take over much for him. So I think this is an interesting question, interesting thought, whereas they really do need to add somebody else because William will need help, and he can't rely on his brother. The only person he can really rely on in that list is Beatrice, I think. So they want to add Edward and Anne and perhaps Catherine to it as well. There's also been talk of removing Andrew and Harry, but apparently they just want to add people to it. I think they should just forget it and just remove Andrew and Harry. There's just no reason to keep them on there, I don't think. And again, it's one of those things where if the monarchy wants to continue, it needs to be it needs to be a privilege and not a right. Lady Jane just got here. Brittany, thank you for all your amazing videos. I'd love to see you in Boston. You need a royal wedding. Oh, a royal wedding would be fun to watch. But I am super excited to go to Boston. I will be there for the Earthshot Prize, and that will be super exciting. Although I will say I got my hotel closer to the library than I did where they're actually going to have and hold the event. So I'm a little bummed about that. So I'm like, maybe I need to change my hotel, because the JFK library is kind of outside of town, and that's a bit where my hotel is. And I just thought it would be easier to do it that way, because I thought maybe they would probably have a facility for it, but I guess not. Because it'll only be invitation only. So I can't go in, but I'm hoping either to get press credentials or I'll be hanging out outside there hoping to get a picture. And I'll be investing in a zoom lens. So hopefully maybe I'll get some decent pictures. I got a better camera now than I did when I went to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So maybe I'll get some good things. So me asks, how on earth can Harry and Meghan show their faces at the coronation, let alone expect titles? How is what they did to this family on Oprah not treason to the monarchy and commander? You would think, but again, it's all about family. And it's complicated family dynamics, and the monarchy can't look like they're totally dismissing Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are continuing to look like the fools in this dynamic, whereas the monarchy comes out on top by just trying to be open and kind, whereas Harry and Meghan just continue to kind of be, well, we don't want anything to do with it, and Charles still has. The monarchy continues to extend the olive branch, where Harry and Meghan keep slapping it down, and Harry and Meghan, the more they slap it down, the worse they look. So I think that's a good thing for the monarchy to do, is to continue asking them. But again, I think like at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee at the St. Paul's Church service, they'll be across the aisle and way down in the back. I think that's what will happen. All right, guys. So I will be wrapping up here in a second. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, Bar Jumbo, keep up the good work, Brittany. Thank you. Missy Lulu, live streaming on YouTube. Yes, I will live stream as much as I can, especially in Boston, and I have a reservation at the hotel for the coronation and everything. So we'll continue to do that. Catherine asks, can you talk about why Beatrice seems to miss the mark on fashion? Also, why they choose not to correct her overbite with braces. The Brits generally aren't as interested in orthodontia as the United States is. United States, everybody gets braces. UK, not as much. Kind of having not bad teeth, but not being as like invested in having the super straight teeth. Like I had braces. But I feel like actually Beatrice's fashion is getting a lot better. So I actually do like elements of her fashion for sure. So I think she's great. All right. Hello, Sandra from Brisbane. Love your channel. First time on live stream. Oh, I'm so glad. I really enjoyed it. Oh, I'm so glad. I always feel like I don't do the greatest job on here. I'm just trying. I just need to just keep plugging away and keep getting better is the plan. Well, guys, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. I have dogs that want to go out. And so, guys, I will see you again very, very soon. Thank you so much for getting up early, staying up late, and chilling with me for a bit. And we will continue to do these next week. So, guys, oh, and I forgot to mention, Catherine is doing her Christmas concert again. How excited are we for that? That is awesome. I'm so excited for that. So, guys, anyways, I meant to talk about that on here and totally forgot. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out and watching with me. And I look forward to seeing you guys again very, very soon. All right. Bye.